Okay, guys, this is the perfect time for us to be shooting our winter landscapes. You have this February break and even the week after that. So, a lot of the pictures that I'm going to show you have snow, but please don't think that I am telling you it has to be snow because we're in winter. So, everything that you see around you is going to be capturing winter. So, I'm just going to talk to you and show you some images that I think are fantastic that really capture winter very well as far as composition and lighting, color, all of that, even though it lacks a little color, but there is some color in the images. So this is one of my favorites by an artist, photographer named Peter Lick. And just in talking about this, if we were in class, I would be talking to you a lot more, interacting to try to point out some of these qualities of the composition that you see. But right off the bat, obviously you see some bright light coming in through the trees there. And shooting into the light, I will get to because it can be really tricky because it will project little lens flare through your lens and into your picture. What could be a desired effect, as the artist did add some kind of filter to this one. But the light coming in from the back there really accentuates and creates those shadows from the vertical trees. So also when you think about line, there are some of these images that I'm going to show you that the horizontal flow has very peaceful look to it. This still is very peaceful, but there's something about the vertical lines of the trees that really kind of hold a lot of strength and power. But then you have the contrast of that really fluffy, untouched snow. That's super fantastic. So with those shadows is creating a lot of leading line that is adding to the perception of depth. So if you were in person in the 3D picture that it is, you could run through the trees and into the distance. But looking at a 2D picture, there are ways to really accentuate that. So with leading line, especially in this one, really adding to the depth, as well as objects that are closest to you are going to be larger and towards the bottom of the screen photograph. And as they recede back, they get a little bit higher. But the leading line in this case is really helping the depth of this image. So this was shot while I was skiing. This is Jiminy Peak, if you recognize it. I did not ski with my big camera, so I would not suggest doing that. I know that Cooper is heading out to Colorado, so don't be bringing a big camera with you. So this was shot many, many years ago. The quality, actually, it's kind of funny because when the cameras come out, you think that they're so amazing and they take such great pictures. But this was actually a low megapixel. It might have even been a flip phone for all I know. I don't know. It was a while ago. But anyway, realize that you're going to get different resolution in your pictures from a cell phone versus a larger DSLR camera. But things to think about is just, even though in a square format is a little bit harder to think about rule of thirds, but having things off-centered is going to help your composition. So I'm going to have you watch a video tomorrow on Ansel Adams, who is America's most renowned landscape photographer. So super interesting and nice images. And let's see. So one of the things he's big about is visualizing your photograph before you go and take it. So as you keep going and learning and practicing and taking more and more pictures, I'd like you to get into the habit of having a vision of what you want to take the pictures of. Not in your house saying, okay, I'm going to go take a picture of a mountain, but when you approach the scene, just kind of having an idea before you even put the camera up to your face to take the picture. So, and the more and more you do that, you'll be better at seeing. So I'm really trying to get you to not just be able to take the picture, but to kind of appreciate life and everything that you're seeing and how it can capture just wonderful images. So you don't have to be going to Jackson Hole, Wyoming to take images like this. This is photographed in Eastburn. So I would suggest keeping your camera with you, going on a little road trip around up near Thatcher Park. You could go to Five Rivers. You could go to the town park. Even walking around the school campus, probably over the weekend or during the break, there are some cool opportunities to take good landscapes. I would, unless you have a big rolling yard, I would kind of stay away from photographing just outside your back window because you're more apt to get a lot more variety, which is something that I really need you to do. So composition wise, rule of thirds, we will be coming back and talking about rule of thirds in exhausting measures. I'm trying to get you to not be centering everything, especially the horizon line. Typically in a landscape, things should be divided. You could either have 2/3 sky and 1/3 land, or you could mix it up and do 1/3 sky and have more land in there. And notice how this tree is smack dab in the middle, both horizontally and vertically, and it's just kind of a stagnant picture. It's just more compelling when you look at something that is in the rule of thirds. I don't know what the actual trick is, but it does something visually. So here's an example of one that is 2/3 land and 1/3 sky. So even though there's no snow in this picture, it still has that wintry look. This is taken in the desert, so there wouldn't be any snow, and the leaves probably were never on that tree because it looks like it's pretty dead. But just an interesting photograph and one that I found that had more land for the example. So get into the habit of rotating your camera as well. So typically people want to keep it in a horizontal mode, which with the bigger cameras, I would suggest alternating and getting some vertical as well as the horizontal. You get a much different look. So in this case, I would say this one is stronger, but there's going to be some times where the vertical pictures are going to be better. So typically, if you're taking a picture with your phone, it's already in a vertical mode. So I feel like most people take their pictures vertical. So in that case, do the opposite and try to get more horizontal pictures. But next time you go through your camera roll, take a peek and see if you are good about rotating your camera around. So in winter pictures, when there is snow on the ground and it's a gray day, you're not going to have a whole lot of contrast. So you need to make sure there's a subject of some sort in there. This one, if it had more snow on the branches, it's going to cover up some of that dark that you really need for the contrast in your picture. So just pay attention to that. Because in looking at this, it's just really lacking. I mean, there's kind of a nice misty look to it, but overall, it's a picture that you would just fast forward and glance past. Versus one like this that has not just the contrast in the chair or in the tree branch, but also these nice, strong shadows of light. So if you're going for something like this, keep in mind that here the sun is over here on the side. So it's casting this nice long shadow. If it were noon and that sun were up here at the top, you wouldn't have these kind of shadows. It would really just be blasting that out and not creating the cast. So this is referred to as golden hour because it kind of, the warm color of the sun comes out and casts on people, the snow, the land, all of that. And it just gives a nice glow as to why they're calling it golden hour. I don't know about it being an hour. Maybe it is just 1 hour, but when the sun is setting, it does go pretty quick. So if you look outside and you see that the light is nice and bright, I would grab your camera and go. So if it's a really cloudy day, you're not going to get this kind of result. So it does need to be a nice bright sun. So plan ahead, but be impulsive, sporadic, just run and go. So Normanside Golf Course is another great place to go photograph. It's open, you can walk around, you can take your dog for a hike, just go for a hike. Five Rivers, I think I was already saying all that, but there's some really cool things. So Delina captured this. You've got the horizon line up in the rule of thirds and that sun right in the top third. There's even a little bit like kind of where the edge of the ice is coming through. And this twig down here, which is also on the thirds, even though you've got this through the middle, but also notice that this has like an S curve to it, which is pretty darn cool how it carries your eye through the picture. So even though you look at this and it's just pretty simple, there are some compositional elements in here that really make it pop. So just keep your eyes open. I don't think this would be as eye-catching if it were in black and white. It would still be great, but that warm glow, again, that golden hour, has a really nice effect on the image. So you should always look for something in your scene that'll lock your eye to something in the picture. You don't want a picture that you just kind of just randomly look all over the place, because the viewer's eye will just kind of move on and not stay interested. So find something that's going to really anchor your viewpoint. Another thought, like if you wanted to capture this pristine snow on the ground, I would think about getting out there early before it's traipsed on. Just a thought. But again, if you took this tree out, I say that, but I feel like this rolling hill and the fog, it's a beautiful image. And we talked about horizontal lines versus the vertical. So I wouldn't call this a vertical line, but these horizontal ones have such a soft, calming feel to it. So very different from those trees, even though the tree one was very serene. So I'm all about being artistic and creative, but please keep your horizon lines the way they're supposed to be. Don't be turning the camera and taking artsy pictures that way. So it's just kind of hard to be looking at. So it should be captured this way, even though horizon lines can be crooked because of the form of the land, but you can see the way the tree is growing this way. But shooting it that way would be nice, because then you've got this the dirt road bringing your eye, again, that nice curve bringing your eye to the tree. So please do not go out and do something like this. I don't want you documenting winter. This would be considered a lazy picture. So please don't just go outside and snap pictures of snow on a bush or something. Be careful of what's in your background. So this, to me, would not be categorized as a landscape picture. You've got, the house in the background, maybe you have your garbage cans out here. So really, for this assignment, I do need you to get out and go for a walk or a drive. If the snowfall is very heavy, it could be tricky to get everything in focus. And depending on your shutter speed, it could cause a lot of blur. The streaks in the snow could kind of impact your photograph in a good or bad way. Kind of depends. This was shot with an iPhone, so you can't control the shutter speed, but luckily it was a fast one, so it captured some of these nice snowflakes on there. But in this one, you've got different shutter speeds that you could control. So if it were a 500th of a second, it would come out looking a little bit more like that. And this one is probably like a 60th of a second, which we didn't get into any of that. So this is probably like, what? But the slower the shutter speeds, you're going to get some blur. So if you were going to get the blur of the snow, these people moving would also be blurred. So it's kind of a give and take. And this one does have some snow, but you notice that it brings the values and contrast of the picture not as intense. If you're going to shoot into the sun, you need to have something blocking. So as I showed you the Peter Lick picture in the beginning, where the tree was blocking the sunlight, you have to have something blocking. This one, there's too much coming in, and this is actually hitting the inside of the lens, which has this octagon blades inside that are giving you these lens glares. They have apps that actually add this to your picture, so I guess it's more of a artistic decision. But this would be a silhouette picture, and we're not putting people in your picture, but I just found this one to put it in here. But if the person had moved over a little bit to the left, the sun would be more behind the person, and the whole image of this person would be more like this, darker, so it's more of a silhouette. So again, here's the lens flare. This one to me looks like an filter. So it could be something that you want to do. But if not, make sure that something's between the lens and the sun. So this one's definitely a filter, which we're not really getting into those. But you want to make sure that there's something, again, locking your viewer's eye into your picture. So something that would be just, you drive by and go, oh, there's a hay bale. But it has really cool shape, and there's good depth in this picture as these hay bales are kind of scattered. You've got really awesome texture and cool form the way the snow is on there. So look for something. This, I'd like you to stay away from something like this. It's just a little too crowded. You'd have to kind of isolate things in your landscape. So again, this is probably something you'd find in your backyard. So just be careful. Don't wait till the day before it's due to try to go snap these pictures. Plan ahead. And again, if we took the words off this picture, you'd see that it's really just horizon line, nothing interesting in the picture. This is on Meads Lane, so this is right on the side of the road, so you could photograph on the side of the road, but I don't want you going into anyone's property unless you had permission. If you were to get hurt on the property, it's a legal deal, and it's somebody's property, so you just can't go on it. And if you're not comfortable asking permission, then just don't do it. The other thing is I don't want you snapping pictures from inside your car. You need to get out and get different angles and views. And definitely no drive-bys where you're snapping while you're driving or riding. Okay, so I'm assigning this February. You guys are February 11th. And even though it says processing, this is for my film students. So Riley has this assignment twice, but I need you to have your pictures ready February 28th, because on March 1st, this is the week after the break, like 2 weeks after. So March 1st in class, we're going to be uploading your contact sheet for your landscape. So this is kind of your first big assignment. So shooting outdoors, shoot the full roll, but a full roll has 24 exposures. So that would mean I want you to shoot at least 24 pictures, and I'm sure you're going to shoot a lot more. And in the video that I share with you, it talks about visualizing your pictures. So you're not taking a gazillion pictures of the same thing, but at the same time, you want to get some different variety and of the same scene, but trying different angles. So you don't necessarily have to take one, even though Ansel Adams would really just think about it and take one picture and move on. But try some different angles. We're not putting people in the picture. And just be prepared. Have your camera with you so you can seize the right time and plan it out where you want to go take your pictures. Don't waste pictures on lazy scenes, and plan ahead. I don't know. I doubt we're going to get to something like this. but this was more digital manipulation of the pictures. Because this class, because we're hybrid and all that, the projects are taking us longer to get through. So this is your assignment, and I hope that you go and have fun with these and learn a lot in everything that you're capturing. Definitely when we come back and we're able to talk about these more, you'll be learning. So have fun with this, and I'll see you after the break. Email me if you have any questions.